I just turned in an assignment. And here we are. Good evening and welcome to Suffering in Silence with Pastor Tia here on Love Bay Afrobeat Music Talk Radio. We're here with you every Friday evening at 7 p.m. Eastern. The Love Bay family, we are continuing to rise out of the ashes together. Our topic on this evening is serving people love through food. We have with us our co-host Jennifer Peterkin of the Human Experience, and our guest for this evening will be Apostle Stephanie Jordan of Abiding Love Deliverance Center in Charlotte, North Carolina. Listeners, if you have any questions or comments for myself, or our co-host, or our guest, you can email us at sufferinginsilencedv@gmail.com. You can also text or call 437-778-3299. We want to also remind you to remember to like, share, and to subscribe via whichever platform you're watching us by. If you have any resources that you want to share with us on a national or local level from your country, your community, any local organizations, or your faith community, you can also email us at sufferinginsilencedv@gmail.com. And with that, Jen, if you would greet our listeners and viewers on tonight.
Of course. Hello, Love Bay. Happy 4th of July for anybody that happens to also be in America. Happy to be here once again with Pastor Tia, my friend and colleague in this fight against domestic violence. I am a domestic violence survivor and advocate, and have been blessed enough to be working with Pastor Tia for several years now in this fight. So always happy to be here.
So thank you so much. So Left Bay, as soon as Apostle Stephanie gets here, she will join us. In the meantime, I want to share some resources. Again, I want to put forth the, I guess I would call it the plea for Rise Out of the Ashes, Inc. We are always collecting funds. And I had an interesting conversation this week. Someone asked me what set us apart from other organizations that do what we do. And my immediate answer was that we provide funding immediately. we have our, yes, I would say rapid funds with transitional source resources. Anyone, as long as we are financially able to do so, when we get calls, when we are contacted, we help with situations immediately. There's not a bunch of red tape and paperwork that people have to fill out. We have talked to individuals, and in a matter of hours, we were able to help them with financially whatever they needed. Some individuals in less than an hour. So I believe that that is a huge thing that sets us apart. We do not ask individuals for their pay stubs and driver's license and birth certificate and social security card and all of this information just at the end of that to say, I'm sorry, we can't help you. Our process is completely different. But in order for us to be able to continue to do what we do, we need help. I have given and still give myself personally. Jen gives personally. Aaron gives personally, but we cannot carry this organization by ourselves. And believe me, I tried, but I can't do it. So we still do use resources from my book, Suffering in Silence, which is available on Amazon. We use proceeds from that to help victims and survivors. And what we do, again, the biggest thing is the help with immediate funding to help individuals pay for doctor visits, transportation, to move from one location to another, to be safe. We've helped individuals leave one state to get to another, to be with family and friends in a safe space. We've helped individuals pay for rent and mortgage, utilities, put food on their table. And again, we cannot continue to do this on our own. We need help, so we're asking for that. So you can go to GoFundMe and look for our page, which is Rise Out of the Ashes, Inc. Or you can, if you want, write out a check to Rise Out of the Ashes, Inc. Our address is P.O. Box 15. We are in Drexel Hill, Pennsylvania, 19026. And again, I just cannot express just the need that we need financial assistance. And I'll be honest, once I got the 501c3 and we moved forward, I really thought it was just going to be a simple, quick process. Grants were going to come in, people were going to give, everything was going to be good. And it did not happen that way. It really didn't. And now we're dealing with everything that's happening with the federal government and grants and things like that. So that's only added to an already hard situation. But we do not want to turn people away who are coming to us for help. So if you would like to help us, that's a way that you can do it. I also want to share North Carolina Coalition Against Domestic Violence. Their website is nccadv.org. Their number is 919-956-9124. You can go to their website and find a list of domestic violence agencies that serve all 100 counties across North Carolina. And then in the United States, we have the National Domestic Violence Hotline. Their website is thehotline.org. Their number is 1-800-799-7233. And we have the National Sexual Assault Hotline. Their number is 800-656-4673, or you can visit their website, rainn.org, RAINN.org, and you can also chat online at online.rainn.org. And then we have the Polaris Project, the National Human Trafficking Hotline. Their number is 1-888-373-7888. Or you can text the words "be free" to the number 233-733. And their website is polarisproject.org. And again, listeners and viewers, wherever you are, you can search for the resources that you need on a national or local level. So wherever you are, if we do not provide that information, you can look for it. So with that, we do move into our topic on this evening. Apostle Jordan will be here when she can, but until then, Jen and I are going to be talking about serving people love through food.
Great.
So sometimes the simplest things can make a person feel normal and feel loved. Now, I'm not a chef. Apostle Stephanie and her husband, Apostle Tomy. Apostle Tomy is a chef, and they have their a bakery and they prepare food, and so that's a way that they use to connect with people. And I just myself on today, because it's 4th of July, I started thinking about when I was a kid, how everybody would just come over. We had the barbecue, and it was all centered around food. And then you think about the holidays that center around food. And, sometimes just a Sunday dinner, a family event, you can have family and friends just centered around food. There are times that my friends and I will go out, or, Jen and I were just together recently. We went out and we connected over food. I think that there is something that allows you to kind of let your guard down a little bit. Again, I think some of the simplest things really can make you feel normal and loved. And going through, my ordeal, I remember wanting so bad, Jen, I remember wanting just to feel like a regular person, just wanting to feel normal. Like I was always on edge. I was always kind of like just ready to burst, ready to pop, because I didn't know what was going to happen, how it was going to happen. And I just remember clearly thinking, I want to feel normal. I want to be normal. I want to just be okay. And so I understand the thought and the theory behind Apostle Stephanie and Apostle Tomy, as they use this gift that they have of serving people food, and getting love to them that way. I believe that I know it is, but one of the questions that I have for Apostle Stephanie, and if she can get here, I wanted to hear their intent behind a thought, how they explain it, because I know how I perceive it and how it comes across to me. But, just in my mind, it's just really something that's very simple, something that you can connect with different people on. Um, and it's a way to help someone, I guess, kind of let your guard down a little bit. So for me, and it really, we can expand this. It doesn't have to be food. You can share whatever it is that you love, to be able to speak with a person and try to bring them some peace or semblance of, again, of what we call normal. Like I love reading, so I can share my love of books with an individual. You can start off talking about John Grissom or C.S. Lewis or whatever, and then you can start a conversation that will just go into, how are you? How are you doing? What's going on with you? Do you need anything? So when we want to help people, I really don't think it has to be like a huge, grand gesture. Sometimes it's just sharing what's important to you. So if it's sharing food, if it's sharing um, a hobby, I really believe it's just saying, I'm a person just like you. I'm here. And you know what? If you do have an issue, if you do have a problem, we don't even have to talk about that. Like we can focus on this activity right here. You want to go swimming? If it's swimming, hey, let's do that. Like you want to act like you're Michael Phelps for a minute? Okay, let's do that. But I think it goes a long way to disarm a situation, especially when somebody is dealing with something like domestic violence. This is your day in and your day out. Like you never, well, I can speak for me. It's like you never have that moment where it's like a break. You get away because again, you're always on edge trying to figure out what to do, how to do it, and how to survive. So it's like there's no part in that where you can just let yourself just be okay. So that was my initial thought on the thought of serving people love through food. Like that's what came to me. So what were your thoughts on it, Jen? How did it come across to you?
Yeah, I mean, I think probably really similar. I think when people's basic needs are being met, um, it's a it's a it's a connector. It establishes trust. And I don't mean to say that in like a manipulative way. Like, don't be, serving people food to like try to get in their good graces and, all you want is their ear or something. But it is a huge connector to share a meal with somebody, to share food with somebody, and then move into something deeper or more profound. What keeps running through my head is actually like not totally relevant, but years ago I was reading this devotional and it was talking about like how you share God with people. And one of the point of the devotional was earn the right to share. So like don't just go up to somebody and start talking about God, but like human to human, love them like God would love them.
Mm-hmm.
And when you do that, what naturally follows is a conversation about God. And so that's not totally what we're talking about, but earn the right to share keeps playing in my head. And I actually hear that a lot in my head. Because I do think it's true, it's important that people um trust you. It's important that people's basic practical needs are being met. I think it's really unfortunate when we try to, um, you know, try to have conversations or try to push people into certain things when they're like, listen, I'm just trying to put food on my table, or I'm just trying to make enough to make ends meet. When people are living like that, like and have needs that aren't being met, it's really difficult to then try to shift focus onto something more not tangible. And so
Mm-hmm.
I think food is a wonderful way to, it can be in a lot of different scenarios, but it's a wonderful way to kind of bring people together. And it's also a way to establish trust, because sharing a meal together is a profound experience. You know, we do it often, and so I don't think that we necessarily view it as such. But breaking bread together is something that, for as long as humans have existed as we are today, um, it's a messaging. There's a messaging to it, right? It's not just a simple, eating across from each other. There's something that happens when you fill your stomachs, when you meet a basic human need in the presence of another human being, and you are then able to establish a place of trust and rest and even indulgence.
Mm-hmm. So I completely agree with that. And I think even just on an intimate level, I would say it's like, see me as a person.
Mm-hmm.
Like, see me in front of you and just talk to me like you would talk to anyone. Interact with me like you would interact with anyone. There were so many times where when I did open up, when I did share my story, there were different reactions that I got from different people. Some people just did not know what to do, did not know what to say. They wanted to be supportive and just didn't know how to. Other people just didn't care. Just like, it's not affecting me, so I don't want anything to do with it. Other people were just like, that's really deep. I would like to help you, but I don't want to get involved because that's just over my head. I don't want to be a part of it. And so to me, it's like when you're dealing with food, when you're saying, I'm going to share this with you, I'm going to give this to you, it's just like, I'm a person just like you are. We all need to sit down at the table and eat. And I think the way that you present that speaks volumes as well. So because if you want to get into a conversation about God, if it's a person that you really feel like you want to help them with an issue that you may believe that they have, like you said, you have to earn that right. And so the way you present it speaks volumes as well. You don't take food to someone and just throw it at them. You don't make them feel like, I'm giving this to you because you don't have, and like, I'm going to be your savior right now. And so now you're indebted to me. So now you have to sit down and tell me everything that's going on because I just made myself the person that's here to help you. So it really is. I think it's a simple saying. You can simply say it: serve people love through food. But the way that is done, it's a whole technique. Because are you serving somebody food who you're trying to love, who is in an abusive relationship? Are you trying to serve someone food and you want them to see love, who has just lost their child? Someone who may be addicted to drugs or alcohol, and they don't have food because of decisions that they made, but nobody gets up and says, hey, I just want to be a drug addict. So can you still see the value in this person and what they need, and then at the same time give them the strength and the courage to be able to open up, if they so choose, like, this is what I'm dealing with, this is what's happening and what's going on. And I've always said, if you put yourself in a position where you want to be that listening ear, you want to be that support, you want to help, you need to be prepared to actually help. Like, you cannot pull someone into your good graces. You cannot have someone become so comfortable with you, that they start to feel safe, and then you have nothing for them. No, you need to be prepared. So if you take that position, I want to present something to you so that you can feel normal, so that you can feel love. All right, you need to think, what is the next step after that? Do you have resources prepared to be able to help this person get the help that they need? Do you have domestic violence agencies that they can go to? Are you prepared with information yourself? Do you know what the power and control wheel is? Do you know what some of the red flags or green flags are? Do you know what some of the symptoms are of a person who's dealing with domestic violence. A lot of people get frustrated because they're dealing with a person who's in an abusive relationship, and in their eyes, they just won't leave. So, like, why won't she leave? Why won't he leave? Well, have you prepared yourself with information to understand? You won't know exactly what they're going through, but to have a general idea. You know, when a person leaves, I believe it takes the average person maybe 4 to 7 times. Uh,
7.
yeah, 7. So it's like, do you know that? Do you know that it's normal for you to actually help a person get to a place and they're out and they're safe, and then maybe 2 or 3 months later they're back? If that happens, are you not going to serve them food anymore? Is the love gone after that? So again, on that side, if you put yourself in that place where you want to stand and you want to be supportive, you really have to be prepared. And I just believe that there is just something empowering and strengthening when you have information and education. You don't have to be Albert Einstein. You don't have to be a rocket scientist. But did you go to any of the websites? Did you go to the national hotline and look at information? Did you go to Laurel House and see what's there? Did you see what's available for family and friends? Did you learn what some of the tactics are of an abuser? Information is very, very powerful. And then information that's going to be used correctly, not to manipulate a person into just opening up to you, and then you just leave them there. So again, to me, I think it's a simple notion, but I think it's very, very powerful. And again, it doesn't have to be food. You can, your kindness, the way that you show love, it can fall into any activity.
Yeah. No, I mean, I agree wholeheartedly. I think you hit the nail on the head when you said, like a savior complex, because we can fall into that without meaning to at all. I think it can be part of our hubris as human beings to just assume that, we have a bird's eye view of somebody's life, and therefore we know better for them what they should be doing. But life is complicated, and even if you're not wrong that, yeah, this person is in an abusive relationship and it would benefit them to get out of it. I mean, if it was that easy, then domestic violence wouldn't be an issue.
Right.
So, life is complicated. There are a lot of nuances, there are a lot of variables to situations, and you, at the end of the day, aren't making that decision. So, I think that when we serve, we always have to come with our hearts in the right place, and with humility in that. And it has to be, like you're saying, Tia, it has to be from a place of like, this is kind of the whole package. Like, I'm not expecting anything in return from this. I'm not expecting your vulnerability. I'm not expecting your trust. I'm not expecting information. Like, this is just me serving you in a capacity that I'm able to, and also that every human being needs, right? Like, if you're talking about food, everybody needs food. Um, and that's not to say that trust can't be built on that, and that relationships can't be built on that, or that help can't stem from that. But I think it is important that we realize that, you know, us, we don't get to play God in other people's lives. And so we don't get to decide what's best for other people. And I think a lot of times when we're talking about service, we there is a self-righteousness that comes with that, and we have to be careful about how we approach service of other people, because we can really start to view it as an us versus them kind of thing, and
Yeah.
that's never okay, and that's never good. It never leads anywhere productive, and it's not how, again, to bring God into this, just my personal beliefs, like, that's not how God views us, right? As like the people serving other people being better than. That's never how it is. because there are points in your life where you need serving, right?
Yes.
Like the constant revolving door. So I think it's important to really check our own hearts and our own motives when we talk about service of other people, whether it be through food, whether it be through volunteering, or sharing our hobbies, whatever it is. What is the purpose, or what are we trying to accomplish? Is it connection? Is it reaching out a hand to another human being who looks like they're drowning? Then that's wonderful. If it's to save them, or if it's to give them advice that they didn't ask for, or if it's to tell them how to change their lives, or make different decisions for themselves, then that's not okay. It doesn't matter if you think you know better. It's
Right.
not your life. And, again, it's not to say that when trust is built in relationship that you can't have hard conversations. But again, if you earn that right by building relationship. You don't get to just come in off the street and tell somebody how to
Right.
live their life.
Exactly. And I think the key word is serve. We're supposed to serve. It's like everybody wants to be a minister this and minister that and minister. Well, the word minister means serve. It means to serve. So we are, supposed to be there for each other. And then if you find yourself in a place where you have built trust, you have built a relationship, and someone does open up to you and they're beginning to move forward, to grow, to stand on their own 2 feet. If it happens that someone shares something with you and you can't handle it, if it's above your head, be honest. You know, like I can't help you with this, but let me help you find a resource.
Mm.
Because some of us unknowingly open doors and you're just not expected to get what's behind that door.
Yeah.
So you may see, your sister or your friend or your coworker, maybe they've been out of sorts, over the past few days, and you just want to, talk with them, just let them know things are okay. Like, hey, can I do anything? And some of them may open up and just pour out a load that you cannot handle. The correct response is not to just throw your hands up and just walk away. That's it, it's over. Like, I'm sorry I asked you how you were doing. Like, I'm sorry I took you out to dinner. I'm sorry I prepared this meal for you. No, the correct response is, I'm still here for you, but this is what my limit is. This is my limitation. And not because I don't want to, but I'm not equipped for it. So we should, I think a part of going through that process, you're earning someone's trust. You really do want to help them. Part of support and being there is being able to say, I can't do this right here, but I'll help you get to where you need to be to get the help that you need. For me, as I went through, it would have done so much good for me for people to just act like people, just be normal. Like, if you can't do it, you can't do it. That's great. Like, I'm not asking you to reinvent yourself. But I think in the face of abuse, in the face of trauma, in the face of tragedy, a lot of people just don't know what to do. More often than not, people are not trauma informed. And so the correct response usually is not the first one that comes up. But it is very okay to say, I don't know. What's not okay is to just completely shut down and turn around, turn your back on someone after you have, not in a mean way, but after you have prepared and prepped and spent time with this person, earning that trust, and you just turn and walk away when they do open up. That's not okay. So we have to be careful about what we're trying to do. And it's very hard when you're dealing with people who you love, family and friends. And there are individuals who just have a kind and a caring heart. Like, you want to be there for everybody. You want to fix all the problems of the world, and you can't. And we can be overwhelmed with other people's issues. But again, the correct response after you spent time with someone, talking, eating, swimming, doing whatever, and then you just bail on them, that's not okay. That's going to cause more damage in that person's life. That's going to cause them to think and believe and feel, I cannot trust another person again. Or it's just going to send them deeper into a place where their healing process is just going to be much longer. Because I can't tell you how many times I said myself, I can't trust another person again. Like I poured my heart out. I put my story out there. I'm seeking, I'm trying, and I was let down. I was betrayed. Again, you don't want to do that. You don't want to do that to another person. You really don't.
Yeah.
You wanted to
Well, it's funny that not funny that you said it, but once you start talking about that, I identified with that so completely. And I will just say, like, from experience, I noticed who didn't show up. If you think just like hanging out in the background and waiting and like, I'm really uncomfortable and I don't know what to do, so I'm not going to do anything and I'm just kind of going to like disappear from this person's life. If you think that the person walking through whatever they're walking through doesn't notice your absence, you would be wrong.
Yeah.
It is felt completely. And so I don't say that to guilt people, because I also recognize that it can be really difficult to know what to do. I think, especially in our culture, I can only speak for American culture, but especially in our culture, we are really bad at sitting in tension. We're really bad at sitting in things like grief and loss and things that we can't immediately fix. And so we have a tendency to just kind of like not either try to overcompensate and fix it, or just pull away completely. And neither is great. And so I do have a lot of grace for the fact that like a lot of us don't know how to go about this. But I think this is exactly where something like food comes in, and service through food. Because I don't need, as somebody walking through something, I don't need you to have the answers. There's nothing that you can say to me that I haven't thought of myself, or I haven't, tried myself. But just showing up and just showing that you're there, is a huge deal. It's incredibly important. And there were people in my life when I was walking through my divorce who showed up for me in really like nothing ways, in terms of like, they didn't, again, like you said, there were no grand gestures. They weren't doing anything incredible. They weren't fixing my problems. They were just showing up. And a lot of them like flat out said, like, I have no idea what to say, or like, I don't know what this means, or anything like that. And I could tell some of them were even hesitant to ask me like how I was doing. And that was okay, because they were still showing up. They were still coming and taking me out for a drink, or just coming to hang out, or whatever. Like, it didn't have to be anything big. It was just the fact that they were showing up. And so I think the message in that is, showing up covers a multitude of sins, right? It covers so many things that we do wrong, because there doesn't have to be perfection in showing up. It's just the act itself. And so food may not be your thing, and that's okay. It doesn't have to be. Pick up a pizza. Like, it doesn't have to be,
Yes.
right? Like, whatever it is, grab coffee. It doesn't have to be food or drink related. It can be reading. It can be going to the beach. It can be literally anything, playing a card game, just anything to show somebody who is going through it, whatever it is, that you're still there. Because it is the loneliest experience to feel at your worst, and to also feel like, through nothing that you directly did, all of these people kind of don't want anything to do with you anymore. And it's because they're afraid. Like, it's not really you why they're pulling away. it's because they don't know how to be around you, but it's still such a big deal when people do show up. So whatever that service looks like, and it is, when you're in relationship with somebody, you should constantly be serving them. That should be part of a symbiotic relationship, is service of each other's needs and wants, and being together and creating memories and creating trust and relationship.
Yeah. And I love how you said the nothing ways. Because that's just so important. I'm like, I still like cheeseburgers and fries. Like, like
Yeah.
we can get a pizza. We can, we can talk about the stars and the moon. It's like, as you said, it's very, very hard. It's devastating to go through an abusive relationship, to go through any kind of grief or loss, and especially when those things are compounded. So I wasn't just in the abusive marriage. I was dealing with that, and then when I got out of it and was trying to rebuild my life, I went through the divorce, and then I had to go through all the different court systems because of everything that was related to that. So it's like one thing on top of another, on top of another, on top of another. It's very, very hard to deal with that. But those on the outside looking in who do want to be helpful, who want to be encouraging, the nothing ways really mean a lot. Just to say hi. There were people who were afraid to just say hello because they didn't want to get into a conversation, because their mind was already, they don't know what to say. They don't know how to help. So it was like completely avoid me. And it was like, well, that wasn't helpful to me. But again, the nothing ways, like just being there. You still can ask, how are you? You can say hello. You can still invite them over or go by if that's okay. Just the normal things. And for me, it was being able to hang out with friends was something that I started to do before I could do it by myself. So it's kind of like doing the normal things with other people helped me to be able to get to that point to where, all right, I can do this by myself. And it really means a lot just to be on a phone and have a regular conversation, watch a movie, talk about nothing. And that's another thing. Conversations do not always have to go back to the abuse. Conversations don't always have to go back to the illness or to the divorce. You really can talk about regular things. Now, something completely different if I bring up the topic. But if the person that you're speaking to, if they don't bring up the divorce, you don't need to do that. And I would even say it's inappropriate for you to bring, even if a person has confided in you and they've talked to you about this particular issue maybe many times before. If you did earn that trust and you built it up, it still is inappropriate to just bring it up if they haven't. Because there were sometimes people would say things and they would ask questions and they didn't have that trust to do that. And then it was completely unfounded anyway. I'm like, all right, we're standing over here looking at the grass and you're asking me about my ex-husband. Like,
Yeah.
One has nothing to do with the other. So there are some cases where it's inappropriate. But I can say for myself, as a victim of domestic violence, as a survivor of domestic violence, I wanted so badly just to be normal, just to have a conversation without someone asking inappropriate questions, without someone saying, I feel sorry. And I don't need that right now. Again, can we focus on the grass if that's what we're here doing? But you really can be very, very supportive with just the nothing ways. And I mean, just picking up a blank journal and giving it to someone. And a Papermate ink pen or a Bic. Like you don't have to go Mont Blanc. Like it doesn't. It doesn't have to be like really extravagant. But hey, this black and white composition book, I was thinking about you. I know you like to write or you used to. I think that's another thing, trying to help an individual get back to some hobbies or activities that they got away from. Maybe somebody did enjoy food, so try to reintroduce that into their life, whether they like eating it or preparing it. Someone who maybe if they would write or read, or somebody who was very active, working out, or I don't know, skydiving or whatever, it's okay to say, hey, let's go do this. And maybe you don't want to do a 10-mile hike, but let's go to the park. I know a trail, a couple miles or whatever, just a little bit. The small things really matter.
Mm-hmm.
They really do. Somebody sitting in a hospital or just coming out of a hospital and they've been hurt by their loved one, they're not expecting you to come up with tickets to Paris, or let's go over to London, or from London let's go over to California and stay there for 3 weeks. They're not expecting that. The smallest things are the most powerful at times. And sometimes I think you said it before, sitting there and just being quiet, not saying anything. If you don't know what to say, it's okay to just be there and be quiet. I think if love is really there, if you really care about this person, it's okay to be in absolute silence. And for me, I'm okay with, being quiet, just a peaceful atmosphere. But if I'm next to a person and if I start feeling like, all right, I have to say something, I have to think of something, that means that I'm uncomfortable. And that the situation is uncomfortable. And if that's the case, then that's a whole different issue.
Yeah.
Deal with, right?
That's a different show, Tia. Totally different topic. No, I agree. And I think, again, I already said this, but I think it bears repeating. Just showing up covers a lot. Like, don't be worried about doing it perfectly. Even if, sometimes you ask the wrong questions or you say the wrong thing, I can promise you, if you just continue to show up and learn, that is like just the best thing that you can do for somebody in that you're in relationship with across the board. It doesn't always have to be domestic violence. There's a lot of things that people walk through: illness and grief and loss, addiction. There's so many things that people walk through that they need other human beings. They need connection to walk through it. And I think it's important that we don't get caught up in the how and the doing it perfectly, and that we just do it. And as somebody that massively struggles with procrastination masking itself as perfectionism, I can just say that, like, just do it, because you can think about it all day long. Nothing's going to change. And then you find yourself weeks or months or even years down the road having done nothing. And perfection, first of all, doesn't exist. So perfection is never the goal, and it never should be the goal in anything that we do, but especially in relationship. And so just continuing to show up in whatever way that, you can at the time, in the moment. And hey, that's not to say that you don't also have your own stuff going on. And so it doesn't need to mean, showing up also doesn't need to mean that you lay yourself down on somebody else's cross, or that you are just sacrificing yourself over and over again. Do what you have the capacity to do. I promise you, the act of showing up, even if it's a phone call, text, regular texting, it doesn't have to be, again, the grand gesture, but it also doesn't always have to be in person either. people will know when you are making the effort. That will shine through clearly because people also see those that disappear.
Mm-hmm. And I think you want to give what you would want to receive.
Mm-hmm.
And I really believe we overinflate some situations and scenarios, but it's very, very simple. How would you want to be treated? If you were in need in this particular area, what is it that you would need from your family, from your friend? Well, okay, now that you know that they're in that situation, now you give that to your family or your friend. And if you're not equipped to do it, that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Point them to a resource, or just be really honest and say, I can't. I think being honest and truthful is another way to assist someone dealing with issues. That's another way to help them to get back to normality. You don't want to sugarcoat anything. You definitely don't want to build someone up and have them believe that you're going to support them or that you can support them in the way that you can, and then it's going to fall through. So I think part of anyone dealing with any kind of trauma, part of normality is dealing with the reality around you. Everyone is not going to be able to be there. Everyone is not going to be able to meet whatever particular need that you have. There is going to be some disappointment. Now, I'm not saying go purposely be mean or rude about it, but I am saying you don't lie to anybody. You don't string them along and have them think that you can be emotionally and mentally supportive when you got your own stuff and is really weighing on you and you can't take on anybody else's issues. You don't want to do that. So again, part of trust is being truthful, is being honest, and it's being open. One of the questions that I was going to ask Apostle Stephanie, I was going to ask her if the effort that she and Apostle Tomy put into serving people love through food, if it applies to serious issues, or is it more of the lighthearted? And then I was going to ask if it's easier or harder in some cases. But I think that question itself has like two scenarios with it, because I think one, it's you already know what a person is dealing with and you're trying to help them. And then I think it's I'm just doing what I do. I'm going to deliver this food to you. I'm going to invite you to this dinner. And as I'm showing this kindness, as I'm showing this love, then whatever issue you have may come out. So I think it could be two ways. Either you know what you're getting ready to walk into, or you just don't. It happens. But my thought of whether it applies to serious issues or lesser issues, trying to use food as a ministry. I believe it's a ministry this way. I think it could. I think it could be either or, because there's an appropriate time. Like if it's very, very serious, like you're not going to show up to a hospital room with a turkey and all the dressings. But as a person moves through, or you're getting through a situation, at some time you do have to eat. If you have children, your children need to eat. So I think just the gesture of showing up and like, hey, I was thinking about you. I may not be able to do more, but I can do this right here, right now. So I think serving people love through food or any other activity can apply to what we would term as really serious issues, or even a lesser ones. I think you have to use wisdom. I think each case is different, and you just really need to have compassion, and empathy, and be mindful of the people that you're trying to help. There are different scenarios and different situations where I'm helping individuals, I'm ministering to individuals, talking with someone, praying with someone. Is one thing if I don't know, but if I already know what your issue is, I talk to people in different ways, according to what it is. A person who is dealing with domestic violence, there is a particular way that you have to have a conversation, and like you shouldn't do this anyway, but especially a person who's dealing with domestic violence, you don't tell them what to do. You don't tell them the decisions that they should make. It's one thing to help put together a safety plan, lay out some options, but then it's what do you want out of these options? What do you choose? It can't be what I'm telling you to do. So it's different. And then, a grieving mother who has lost a child, you would speak to her differently, in that different scenario. So I think a lot of it is being wise. I think it's being informed, and especially being informed with trauma care. I don't think you can get away from that. Not if you are trying to be intentional about helping people deal with issues of abuse and grief. You have to take the time to learn and become educated before you try to step out into that arena, because you can take somebody's trauma and you can take somebody's grief unintentionally and you can make it worse. So yeah, I asked the question and answered it all in my mind.
Good job. You've reached a new level of host.
Oh my goodness.
On the show.
So we're just under the hour. So I would say that's my last thought. So I'm just so like, yeah, I asked and answered that question.
I got nothing more to say. Yeah. You know what? That's fair.
So as we are, we're closing the night talking about serving people love through food. And again, as we've already stated, it doesn't have to be food. It can be any activity, any hobby, anything of your own interest that you want to share. Or if someone has an interest that maybe they laid down or walked away from, and you want to try to be helpful and get them back to that, it can apply to any activity. So Jen, as we close on this topic, I would ask you for your final words on this, your thought on serving people love through food or any activity or hobby, whatever it could be.
Yeah. I would, don't be afraid to ask somebody what they need. I think sometimes, again, in service, and this plays into the savior kind of portion of it, when we kind of assume that we know what people need, or even we know better what they need than they do, especially when it comes to, all across the board. But when it comes to practical stuff, I think one of years ago, I was having a conversation with a friend of mine who worked in she's a therapist, but she was a social worker at the time, and they were handing out like Thanksgiving meals to people in a low income area. And she realized as she was doing it that, her one client that she walked into the house with all of these bags of food, the client was like, I don't need this. Like, first of all, we've got 3 charities in the area who are trying to give me a turkey. I don't have an oven to cook a turkey. I like, there are different things that I would need, but this isn't one of them. And so I think obviously the point in that is, don't assume that you know what somebody needs better than they do. You are not their, guardian. You are not their caretaker. And so I think it reeks of trying to play savior, but also separating people when we remove any agency from them or any autonomy from them. And so when you're talking, it doesn't have to be a stranger. When you're talking to your friends or family that you're trying to serve, don't necessarily assume that you know what they need. They may have needs that they're not asking for, but if you ask the question, what can I do for you? How can I serve you? What are some things that you need? You may get a different answer than what you are anticipating. And I think it's really important when we talk about service that, once again, we allow people to keep their autonomy and their agency, it's incredibly important for dignity and respect of other human beings. And so, yeah, I just, as we move forward in this conversation around service, in whatever capacity you're serving somebody, and if and especially around tangible things, definitely make sure that you are tuned into what someone actually needs, because even if somebody is going through something, they are still a human being.
Yes, that was perfect. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Well, Love Bay, we thank you so much for being here with us. If you want to catch up on previous episodes of the program, you can visit our YouTube channel, Suffering in Silence DV. Please also remember to like, share, and subscribe. You can also visit the YouTube channel of Love Bay, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and LinkedIn. I think I got them all.
That was good. It was scrolling on the bottom.
Right? That's when I saw the LinkedIn right there, the last one. But Love Baby, thank you so much for joining Suffering in Silence with Pastor Tia here on Love Bay Afrobeat Music Talk Radio. We're here with you every Friday evening at 7 p.m. Eastern. Love Bay, we want you to remember that we are rising out of the ashes together. Good evening.